Welcome. Today is a live podcast episode where we are discussing the topic of making money in 2025. This is a last video in a series of our Design Your Life workshops, which we have just wrapped up today. And lots of people who were going through the Design Your Life workshops were talking about how making money was one of the goals for this year. And so we are wrapping up the event with this final conversation today about making money in 2025. So let me know below who would like to make more money. And I just have to say, first of all, that our hub membership is closing for enrollment today. And it's incredible because the post-it note wall behind me is full of amazing names and countries: USA, Canada, UK, Ireland, Netherlands. We have quite a lot of people joining us from the Netherlands. We have already a couple of members from the Netherlands in the group. So Alexandra is going to be your point of contact, I believe, in there to create a member meetup. Sweden, we've got a lot of people from Sweden. We've got 4 people from Sweden, Germany, France, a few people from France, Austria, again, a few people from Austria, a few people from France, a few people, quite a lot of people from Portugal have joined, and we're going to have a member meetup in Portugal. Italy, Germany, Finland, Croatia. We've got a Croatian group, so you must go and find the Croatians. That's Laura Rainbow you want to speak to. Lebanon, Indonesia, where else? Australia, New Zealand. Yeah, I'm sure there's some. Did I say Norway? Quite a few people from Norway. So yeah, it's amazing. Welcome, welcome to everybody. Yeah, the map has gone yellow and a little bit orange. So yeah, great to have so many lovely new names and people from around the world, and we will do our best to coordinate meetups, especially where there's a group of you from certain locations. And we were thinking that it might be nice to have a contact in each country. I know Marita tends to be like all of Australia to coordinate that country, which is massive continent. But yeah, we should have, I think, representatives in other places too, because it's exciting. We'd like you to meet up, especially Sweden. I don't think we've had so many people join from Sweden. Oh, Belgium. I've missed Belgium off the list. So, okay, let's get stuck in. Making money in 2025. Oh, Siobhan, you joined us. Yes, to make more money. Yes, show me the money. Oh, it's good to see you all here. How are you feeling after you've kind of had all the Design Your Life? Oh, someone's trying to phone me. Let's turn them off. Design Your Life workshops. Um, oh my gosh. Sorry, I usually have this turned off. Go away, go away, go away, go away. Let's turn the notifications off. Oh, okay. Lebanon. Oh, yes, Rowley, you're from Lebanon. Brilliant. Good to have you on the map. Graciela, hello. Yeah, we have some more people from Sweden joining, and I saw that you joined too. Laura, we have another member from Croatia to join your group. Lisa says, yes, I'd like more money, please. I can then give generously back to the world. Ooh, that's a good one, isn't it? Okay, so let's just chat about money. Okay, let's do it. So when it comes to making money, I mean, I wish I could just sit here and give you a formula. There isn't a formula, and there isn't one way of doing it. I'm just going to share different ways that I've approached money goals in the past and some of the ways that I do this. If you have your own ways, share in the comments. I'll read them out. We're going to do this as like an interactive group talking about making money together. It is something that we do inside the membership. Obviously, our roadmap that is built in is all designed to be around making money, making a living from your art, making money from different sources. And so in the membership, we're going to have business drop-ins that you can drop into and ask questions on a monthly basis. But when I look at goals, money goals especially, I look from 2 different angles. And the first angle is practical. Like there's a logical, practical way of making a money goal. And then there's a non-practical, illogical, magical way of making money goals. Magical and practical. And I'm going to talk about the practical view first of all, because it's the easiest and most logical to understand. But when we kind of think about making money, attracting money, money is an energy, isn't it, that has been created in the world that we live in as a means of, if we see something we value, it's an exchange. And when you want to make money, that's one way, isn't it, of understanding what it is that you have that can be exchanged for money. And that's the first place, the practical, the logical place to start. And a lot of abundant books and money making books, which are based on spiritual ways of viewing it, is based on that usually nothing comes for free. And I know there are exceptions like winning the lottery and all these kinds of things, but making money, which is what we're talking about, not just getting money, making money comes from you having something that can be exchanged for money. Even if you want a grant or funding, it is related to what you have, what you can do. And so the first part of this is to really hone in on what it is that you can put out into the world and exchange. And I remember reading the book Think and Grow Rich, and it talks about this a lot, about how when you want to grow your income and your money, getting very clear on your money goals, but also what you plan to do in return for that money is a really important part of it. Because then you'll take the action to make it happen and you'll start to see it as that exchange. And so starting with what you have, and this is where people can often trip themselves up, because then you immediately start to think, I don't have anything worth selling. I don't know enough that people would pay me. I don't have art good enough that people would give me their hard earned cash. There's no way I could sell this that just took me 10 minutes. And I don't believe that it's worth that. So that's why it's good to start with, what is it you have? What is it that you can give back for this exchange of money? Because if you can believe in something that you have and you get behind that and you understand why it matters, and you start to understand why it matters to other people, because we've spoken about this a lot in the past, but when you look, especially in the art world, there's so many crazy things being sold, and the one that I'll never forget is the banana strapped to a wall with duct tape that sold for like 500,000. And that story sits with me, and it's one that I always come back to, because I think if someone can sell a banana duct tape to a wall, I can sell what I'm doing. And so I use that one not as a point of frustration, but to think, if they can do that, then I can sell my work, definitely. And so I think that becomes the first step, really, is really understanding what it is that you have that can impact other people. Because if you can really attune to that and start to learn how to articulate what it is that you have and believe in what you have, and then you start to talk to people about it and your eyes come to light, and you enthuse about what it is that you do, and you're talking about your process, and then people start to engage and listen to you because they can see that passion that you have for your work. That's the starting point. It really is. And so that's what we do inside the membership. And it's something we're going to focus big on this year, in terms of you connecting to your creative voice, you understanding what it is that you create and how it impacts yourself and how it impacts others, understanding your voice, being able to articulate it, understanding your work and how it all sits together and relates to each other, so you can get that out in the world and it speaks. That's what we're going to help you with inside the membership this year, in a big, big way. Storytelling. And please don't sit there and go, oh, I'm not going to storytell and there's nothing to tell about me. And it only has to be tiny little bits. You don't have to go out there and stand on a stage and say, I am this amazing artist and I love what I do. But you've got to have something there that connects to what it is that you do. that's the foundation of going on to sell. It really is. Because the more you can sell authentically and from a place of actually really liking what it is that you do, the easier it will become. And you don't have to totally believe in it in the beginning. And I say this because I didn't. When I first launched United Art Space, I didn't 100% believe in it. I wasn't even sure if I could help people. I wanted to. And so, what I leaned into in the beginning was that passion to help others. And I was very honest. And I said, I have this membership, there's nothing inside it, it's empty. But my plan is this, and my vision is this. And I brought people in based on that. And it transpired that I could help people, and I did. And here we are today. It's the hub launched 8 years ago, I think it is, 9 years this year. Anyway, and so whatever it is that you're selling, whether it's workshops, your exhibition, if you have a project, a community project that you want a grant for, this is the starting point, is connecting with that work and understanding it, understanding why it matters, which is where my book is about, why your art matters. It's not here, it's on the shelf behind me. And so then when you start to have that, and like I say, don't feel like you've got to fully understand why it matters and be beaming from the rooftops, because you totally connect with what it is that you do. But you have to find something that can connect you to that work in some way that will give you that confidence to go out there and talk about it or share it, or at least find the next steps to finding other people that can talk about it and share it if you don't want to. So when it comes to selling, going back to the practical, one way of then doing it in its very simplistic black and white form is you have something, a piece of artwork, an exhibition ticket, a workshop ticket, a course, a magazine, a book, whatever it is for you. And the practical way of then figuring this out is the next steps of, okay, I have this. I would like to make this amount of money. And so we can look at this on an individual basis to begin with. And this is exactly what I'm doing behind the scenes in my business. I've listed out everything that I sell, and there's a money goal attached to each of them. And what I do is I take the book, everything that I'm selling basically. Now, back in the day, I just sold one thing and I kept it really simple. Now I've got multiple things. I think in the beginning, the easier you can keep this, because where focus goes, energy flows. If you think about it and you focus on one item that you're going to sell, and you really live and breathe it and figure out all the ways that you could possibly get that out in the world and connect it to people, you are going to sell it. There's a great quote from somebody called Alex Hormozy, and he's this big entrepreneur, helps businesses and invests in businesses, has a great story how he went from broke. It was a gym. He was a gym guy and ended up setting up a gym, and great story, backstory of how he went from that. And now he's like a multi-million pound business or dollar business, because he's based in the USA. Anyway, I read an article from him recently, and he said, if you want to hit, I can't remember what it was, like 100,000 this month, then work out what it is that you're selling and spend 3 hours a day finding opportunities for that thing that you're selling, and you will start to sell it. And so, and it's really interesting because a lot of us will immediately come up with reasons why we can't do that, and and kind of find a way out of that, because it makes us uncomfortable. Because if you spent 3 hours with that one item and you're going to push it out there, you're going to have some difficult conversations where you might feel a bit pushy. You might feel a bit like, I just feel like I'm just pushing this work onto everyone. The mindset issues come up. And so It's quite an interesting task to think, actually, if you spent 3 hours a day focusing on one of your pieces that you were gonna sell, where would you put it? It starts to get you answering the questions. Anyway, so what I do then is for each item, I have a good, better, best goal, like we talked about in the Design Your Life workshops. So I'm thinking from a very practical sense now. So let's take the book. So I've created a good, better, best goal for the book this year. The good goal being based on roughly what I sold last year. The best goal is some kind of crazy goal that I just think, I have no idea how I'd hit that. It's probably like 10 times the amount of my good goal. And then better goal goes in the middle. And from that, it's easy for me because I know what that price will be. But then it's about having a bit of a price. And if you don't know the price of what it is that you're going to sell, and for some things, I don't know the price yet. I've got some new things coming out this year. I'm not sure of the price. Pricing is a whole other topic and another session. And in fact, inside the membership, you've got everything you need to price. We've got all the lessons inside the membership if you need help with pricing. But in terms of pricing, I will use the same kind of format of playing around with pricing. So let's just take the book for a moment. Say I haven't priced the book yet. I would do the same kind of thing with the book, a good, better, best price. So what would a good price look like? And that would be me benchmarking against other books in the marketplace. What does the average kind of book sell in that category? And I'd be pricing it at the range of that, and that'd be my good goal. And then maybe I would 10 times the amount of the book and think, what would that price be? And then somewhere in the middle. And when I do that, then I can start to see, first of all, how many would I need to sell at these price points to hit the goal? And I start playing around with that, like how many. And then I start to look at that pricing structure to think which, if I sold the book, so the book I think is £12.99. £12.99. So if I sold the book for like £200, say, for a book, that kind of takes it out of the realm of what a book would usually be cost at. And this is what you can do with anything, with your art too. You can you've got to be careful here as well, especially with art, that you're not pricing based on only on what you see going on around you, because that's a limiting thing. There's many more factors to pricing, is what I'm trying to say. But one benchmark is what else is going on. And so I can see from the market, and in Amazon being one of the most popular places, and Goodreads and things like that, that most books aren't £200. And so if I was going to sell it at £200, I would have to get the value across. So I'd have to then think about, well, is it a book in addition with some other things? So I start to question, and the same thing can be applied for art. So let me use art as an example. I know somebody here, and I can't remember your name, said, I would like to sell my art for $1,000. And so you can play with that now and think, if I sold it at 500, or I sold it at 1,000, or I sell it for 2,000, what does that look like? If I sell 10 pieces this year, how much does it equate to? You can start playing around with the numbers. And if I want to sell it for 1,000, it gives you the next steps of looking at the type of art that you produce and starting to look around at other people, places, and who else is selling for 1,000 in that kind of area that you're in. Doesn't have to be exact. And it's starting to build up your knowledge of the art world and what's going on, and how are they selling for 1,000? Where are they putting their work? How are they talking about their work? What does their website look like? Is someone else selling it for them? And this is what my friend Sharon did when she wanted to get to the next level of selling at that price point. It was asking, how can I get it to that price point? What do I need to do to this product, service, or item to get it to £200 if I wanted to sell the book for £200? And so I decided not to, because it just felt like a load of hassle for me. And I went with the good goal of selling it at the average price point of a book, keep it simple. And now I know that that's my price point. And so I can work out that if I've got this goal of making X amount of sales in the year, I now know how many books I need to sell on a monthly basis. And then that tells me what I need to do to bring those sales in. And I'll talk about that in a minute, because once you start to have your money goal, then you work on the next steps. So this is the practical way of doing it. My son, I recorded a podcast about this because my son wanted an Xbox or a game station of some kind. I can't remember exactly what it was. And we looked on eBay and found them, and he realized then that he had like this amount of pocket money and that he would have to raise, I think it was like £100 or something. And I said, well, now you've got your goal, you need to figure out how you're going to make that money. And we went through all of his options. So a bit like what I'm saying to you, when you look at your options and the different ways that you can make money from what you have. And this is where, as a creative, I do believe, and I want to do so much work inside the membership this year to help you see the possibilities that you have when it comes to making money from your art, but also the ways that you can use your creativity in so many different ways to get it out there. Um, and believing that, that that as a creative, there are so many ways that you can use your art for good. And it doesn't have to just be selling that piece. There's so many other ways to make money from your creativity. So going back to Isaac, so we then looked at all the different ways that he could make money. And we went through cleaning the car, and he's like, no, I don't really want to do that. And we just went through this whole list. And then it was actually selling his art was the one where he said, yeah, I'd like to sell my art. And so we worked out how many pieces do you need to, like, what could we price them at for you to be able to hit that goal of 100? So what would we need to price them at? And so we worked it out, and we'd have to, you'd have to create this amount of pieces. Is that possible? Yes, it is. And it's the same kind of process when we're looking at things logically with a goal in mind. Like, this is my end goal, and this is, how many pieces I'd need to sell to hit that. And then working out the steps, which I'll talk about in a second, of how to get there. So that's logical, practical. Do you remember when I said in the Design Your Life workshops a bit earlier that if we look at things on paper, a lot of the time things don't add up? So say you have a goal of hitting 30,000 this year, and you start to play around with the artwork that you're selling. And let's just say that you sell very small pieces. They're only, $30. And so you work it out and you go, well, I'd have to set, I mean, I can't do math without a calculator. So I don't know how many pieces that is, but, you'd be like, "Oh, I'd have to be working 24 hours a day and selling, 1,000 pieces a month. It's just not possible." So this is where you have to be careful with the practical goal, because a practical goal can sometimes work and can sometimes be the light that you go, wow, actually, this makes sense. If I can sell just 5 pieces of art this year for this amount, then that's a big chunk that can replace a day of my income from my job. So but if you're the opposite of working out and going, well, this just doesn't add up, I'd have to be working, it's going to take me 10 years to make that amount of money based on what I'm creating right now. But this is good to know. So rather than let it kind of deflate you and think, well, this is just never possible, it's going back to that Design Your Life concept of finding a way. This doesn't seem to add up. This is never going to happen. So what could I do to hit that instead? And this is where a bit of the magic comes in when we are looking at things from a practical sense. We have to leave a bit of room for the magic. And by that, what I mean is, in the past, I've created certain goals, and I can kind of figure out how I would hit them with the good number. I'm like, yeah, I'm confident that I could sell that much. I have before, but I really don't know how I could do it any higher because it just doesn't add up. There just doesn't seem to be enough money or enough time to make it any higher than that. And that's where having the stretched goal of good, better, best can be really helpful. Because if you stretch the goal out, but you don't know how you would get there, you don't actually have to have all the answers right now. It's just even planting the seed in the first place that, yeah, this is my good goal. I've got no clue. I'd love to get to the 30,000. How could that happen? And then you sit with it for a while. And it's where focus goes, energy goes, the pineapple. When you start to put that on your radar, like I make these little miniatures, it doesn't add up how I could get it to 30,000 based on what I'm selling at right now. So let's plant the seed. How could I get there? And so then comes with that questioning, and you don't have to question it every minute of every day, but it's planting the seed of the question and having it on your radar, being aware of conversations, being aware of the people. How are they doing it? And then that's when you start to go through this process of getting that work out there, sharing what it is that you're doing and the goal, and then other people feeding back ideas. And then the answers start to come. And it might be that you run workshops alongside, or you teach it, or you end up creating money from pieces that you didn't think you could sell. So, an example of this is people that I've worked with in the past have a end product that they're selling, like a finished piece of art that's framed, it's done, or three-dimensional work that's finished. And actually, there are maquettes and uh, the what's the word I'm looking for? The prep, the proprietary, the prep drawings, the sketches that the artist has maybe discarded because they weren't meant to be the finished piece. They were informing the finished piece, and have never seen those as potential items that they could sell. This goes back to where I was sitting with my son thinking about all the options that you have. And again, this is why I love our hub membership, because often we're having these conversations together, sharing, members coming in and sharing that I sold this, but like Jenny Stevenson is a great example of this, an artist that we have in our community. She's a rep. And Jenny creates these beautiful books with lots of her collaged pieces woven into them, really lovely, and has now, her art career has taken off, and she for a long time didn't really understand how to monetize these books, and has done by stripping out, some of the play pieces and selling those and putting them into frames and selling those of as individual pieces. They were the play work that went into something else. And then Jenny also shared with us not so long ago about how she created a booklet that accompanied the exhibition and sold out her booklets in, I think it was like the first hour of releasing them or something crazy. And so this is why I say practical sometimes doesn't add up, and you have to be open to, this doesn't seem to make sense right now, but I'm going to go for this anyway. This is my goal. This is what I want to kind of strive towards, and I'm going to find a way to do it. And I think there is so much to be said for having that hunger and that determination with goals that can really help you just go question, yeah, why not me? Let's make this happen. Just want to say here at this point, like I have been throughout the whole workshops, that your happiness is not going to depend on hitting that money goal. I've learned that, you hit the goal and nothing changes. Yes, you might be able to pay some debts off and you'll be able to pay for things, and then it's gone, and then you're back again. It's like money comes, money goes. And I just want to keep saying that because I for a long time was so fixated on hitting my money goal that it made me miserable. I created a best goal and I was so disappointed when I didn't hit it, to the point that I was upset. It threw me. I cried and I wanted to give up because I felt like a failure. So I realized that having that money goal at the beginning was actually, I was focusing on it in a desperation way, in a way that was, I must hit this, otherwise I won't be successful. Everything depends on me hitting this goal, or I'm a failure. What's the point if I don't hit this goal? This goal means everything. And that's something I really want to highlight too, is that when you create these goals, if you can go back to that mantra of money is not my supply, no person, place, or s- person, place, situation. I can't remember what the third thing is my supply. Um, it really takes the emphasis away. And I know it's hard. When I first started selling, I was so desperate for money because I had nothing. And all I had was time. And I had very little of that because I had babies and I had no knowledge. I really felt like I was in a really challenging situation because I had no knowledge, I had no time, and I had no money. And I just kept focusing on that a lot of like, oh, woe is me. And then when I kind of had that goal, I didn't hit it. I was like, it's never going to happen. This is just rubbish. So when I started to come at the goal from a different way of more joyful, actually looking at that goal as going back to what I was saying at the beginning about what it is that I will provide for that goal, and really going back to, rather than me focusing on the money, which is the effect, what is the cause of the effect? So, cause and effect. So, rather than just focusing on the money, the goal, I must hit it, what is the cause? And actually, if we focus on the cause that has the effect of bringing the money in, that's where the gold is. So, going back to that money goal, times in, if I can sell it at this, fantastic. So we've crunched numbers, we can start to see, if I sell this amount of books, this is how many I would hit. And then that takes us full circle to what I'm saying here about then going back to, rather than selling from desperation and selling from a place of, right, now I need to hit this goal. Now I need people buy from me, or you're worse, hiding away, like, do you want to buy this? um, and then feeling all the feels around selling and that exchange. Taking a minute, breathing, and going, right, okay, I've got this amazing item. This is why it matters. This is why this money goal matters to me. So you start to bring emotion to it rather than this practical, like hitting a number, this is what I have to do. If you can bring emotion to it, so in the sense of, this is why this money goal matters to me. Why does it matter for me to sell that amount of books? What impact will that have? And that goes back to what Lisa said when we first started this call. I want to earn more money because when I earn more money, I can do more good in the world. So let me know in the comments, why do you want to earn more money this year? And that is in a really amazing place to start. So when you start looking at these goals, it can really help with the mindset blocks that you have too, about being greedy, about it not being possible, uh, and and the desire to actually make it happen. Your why becomes the fuel to take the action. So I will start to break down what I'm selling and create these goals attached with the why. Why do I want to do that? I want the book to be out there because I know it works. I know it helps people. I know that if we hit that money goal, we can reinvest that into the business, expand the team, make the app. We can give money back to charity, which was one of my big goals today, to give to my mentor's charity. And I actually started to look at, if we hit our best goal, what impact is that going to have on my life, on the life of the team, on the life of our customers, on the life of everything that I do? And I started to see. So for me, when I created the best goal, it felt really out of reach. It felt a bit greedy. It felt a bit like, ugh. But when I started to equate hitting that goal with what it actually meant and what you could actually do with like the studio and the place that you could go and travel to, and for me, the clubs that I can book my children into and giving back. And we're in a position now this year where we can actually work with a charity to give scholarships. There's all these things and it feels incredible. And then that becomes the drive to go for that best goal, to think, wow, I'd like that. I'd like to have that. So then I'm going to ask myself, okay, so I could now go back and play around with the steps that I'd need to take to hit these goals. And then, oh, let me first, before I go move there, I just want to talk about this why again. So why does that money goal matter to you? But then also, why does your work matter to other people? That's my book. That's the whole premise of the book, Your Art Matters, is to really help you understand why your art matters so that you can get it out there in the world, whether to sell or not. Because when you start to understand how your work impacts people, people will start to take notice. When you understand the people that you need to connect with in relation to your artwork to get it in front of the right people, it all comes from understanding why the work matters. So that emphasis on the why impacts so many parts. And that's where people go wrong, because they go straight to the effect, the money. That's the effect. But what is the cause of the effect? And that is what you have, why, what it is. How does it impact you? How does it impact others? And it makes it easier then. And so then when you start to understand what it is that your work is and why it matters, and maybe the purpose of it, you can then understand who it's for. And this is one of the things that we talk about a lot, and people will know we're talking about our who's a lot. And again, inside the hub this year, we want to put a lot of emphasis on inspiring you to develop your voice, empowering you to really understand how it relates to other people, how you can connect your work and understand it, and then understand the possibilities and all the ways that you can use your work. Because quite often you can go very focused on a goal and go, right, this is it. I want to sell this amount of books. And I'm going to show up, like Alex Hormozy says, every day. And I'm going to just get that book in front of as many people as I possibly can. I'm going to do talks. I'm going to just put it anywhere that I possibly can so that it gets in front of eyeballs, is what you can do with your artwork too. um, but fine tuning it so you're not just putting it in any place, you're putting it in the place where your people will be. And that's like, if you focus on that, you're gonna get somewhere and you will learn. And then the other part of this, the magic, is leaving that part of this open to, this is why I like to have the stretch goal, because you might have a very practical goal to hit a certain amount of money. And then when you stretch it out to the unknown, that's where the magic happens, in the sense of you being open to different ways of making money and using your creativity, and being open to, say you want to get that art out into the world, but you're so fixated on just selling it that you miss some opportunities that are to put it into places where maybe you question it and think, I'm not going to sell anything there, I'm not going to put it there. But it was the place where that one person was going to be, that was going to offer you a residency or to represent you, because they have the perfect place to sell your work. These kind of opportunities sometimes that we miss because we're so fixated on the end goal. So there's a dance around here in between the practical and the and the magic. And so that's why there's no clear road. And you can just focus on the practical and just go, this is my goal. This is what I have. This is how much I'm going to sell it for. And I'm going to go all out this year and I'm going to focus on nothing else. And you will learn a lot from doing that. Um, and with that, you can fully consume yourself if you wanted to. And, I've done this in the past where I've changed my passwords to my money goal. I've had my money goal written down in front of me every day so that I see it. Last year wasn't a year I was focused on money. I was focused on writing. So I didn't really do any of this last year. Of course, I wanted to make money last year, but it wasn't my sole focus. It was writing was. Now I'm in a fortunate position that we've got the business to a point where we can rinse and repeat things and sell things, which is again what you can do as an artist. Once you've found a place, you might find a place like a gallery and then you sell every year at that gallery, or you find a place where you can sell a workshop and it works for you and you rinse and repeat it. And then you just keep building up from there. And this year, I am focused on the money goal and bringing myself back to it. And I am going to be focusing on it a lot, pretty much daily, looking at, the money goal and what are we doing to hit it and what can we do? Where can we put ourselves today? And how can we talk about this and how can we reach people? And so, um, going back now to the steps that I'm taking, so I'm going to use the book as an example. What we teach inside the hub, and I know some people have taken our 7 keys program as well, and this is what we teach in that too, is attract, engage, convert, retain. And so when we have something and we want to sell it, and we start to figure out the pricing, we start to figure out that goal and what that could be, then we follow those stages of attract, engage, convert, retain. And so the attract then is what Alex Hormozy is saying. Spend that time each day getting yourself in front of people, in front of the right people, and put the work out there. But it's not just putting it out there with no conversation or engagement. It's about articulating, understanding it. So again, this is what we're going to be doing inside the membership with you, is to help you start to attract. And attract, for me, when I think about getting things out in the world, I'm doing things in a logical way, but then there's also room for just putting things out there in different places and trying it out, getting that energy of the book out there in different places and in different ways, just like you can do with your artwork too. And so that's the first step of attracting. And then the next stage is when you start to attract those people, it's engaging with them. And this again is where a lot of people overlook the step, especially on social media, of attracting people to your social media and then struggling with what to do once they're there and kind of putting a post out, but no one's taking any notice. And it's because you're not quite understanding yet how to engage people with what it is that you're doing. And so there's a really lovely piece there around engagement before people turn into a sale. And so um and then converting people, there's a whole way of doing that too. So this is where the people who get frustrated, because I feel like I'm putting my stuff out there and it's just not converting. And so that's where I start to look at, is that stage then of how I move people through, how I start to attract people. And that's the first step, is attracting the right people and putting the work in the right place. And so I'm going to recap on these steps, because the other things that I do too is bring myself back to this goal, because it's the pineapple. Um, Sometimes I'm focused on the money goal, and sometimes I'm focused on the cause. So, and a lot of the time I'm focused on the cause being what it is that I have. How can I talk about this? How do I articulate the purpose of it? And why does it matter to me? That part is major. And then I'm focusing on the tasks that I need to do to get that out into the world. And so with then making the money, what I also do then is review that on a monthly basis. So I'm always then looking at that goal, the money goal that I set. And am I anywhere near close? Am I not? What's going on? And then I can question why. Why didn't I do it? And I go back to that attract, engage, convert, retain, and I can start to understand this is what I need to do to hit it. Or am I getting in my way? Maybe I didn't do anything to put that work out in the world. And that's why I didn't, because other things have swallowed me up. And so if the money goal is important, you bring it back into the review plan do, which is what we do inside the membership too. We bring you back to the money goal. So you're always focused on that goal and fine-tuning it in the sense of, yeah, why isn't this working? The questions that you ask yourself are so important. I'm not hitting this. Why? What's going on? Is it with myself? Is it with the offer? Is it because I haven't put it in front of the right people? And again, this is all the type of conversation that we're going to have with you. And I think one of the things that's really important as you think about making money this year is your relationship with money. You know, it's really, really paying attention to that money story that you hold. And if you are focusing on, I am poor, money is scarce, it's always hard for me to earn money, the negativity part of it, it will grow. And so I'm excited this year because we're going to be releasing money mindset, little mindset minutes, and especially money related inside the membership. Just little ones for you to listen to on a weekly basis to keep your mind strong in the sense of focusing on what matters when it comes to making money, the abundance, the flow, what you can do, not the lack, the scarcity. I've got to hoard this because I don't think I'm going to get any more. You know, it's the opposite of that you focus on. And so we're going to have those mindset minutes being released inside the membership, which is very exciting. Okay, I think I've spoken at you enough. So I'm going to recap really quickly. So I focus two ways, practical and logical, by taking what I have, good, better, best, playing around with pricing, questioning what it would look like at different price points. If there's a price point that feels out of reach, how can I get to that price point? Maybe I'm not ready yet, but how can I get there? And then starting to equate that to what would I need to sell to hit that goal, and playing around with that for different items that you have. And then allowing some space for the magic, the often possibilities that you don't even know exist, the different ways that you can sell different things that you have, the way you can probably monetize one thing and license it rather than sell it once, sell it multiple times. You make one thing and you sell it multiple times. There's so many ways that you can make money from your creativity, teaching it. So many people, and I've got a summit coming up this year, and I'm so excited to help people understand how they can teach their art to others, because you don't have to be qualified and you don't have to have years of experience and for it to be an academic certificate that you're applying to people. There are just so many ways that you can holistically bring everything that you do and share it with the world and make money at the same time. And it's okay to make money from your creativity. It's okay to hit that best goal. And especially when you start to look at why, what impact will that have? And you remove some of that guilt. So a lot of this is to do with mindset. Money, making money is mostly mindset. And then mindset coupled with understanding to take what you have and to get that out in the world. But the most of it is mindset, without a doubt. So that's it, my friends. That's the money, making money in 2025. If you want to join our membership, we close enrollment in 10 minutes. So the link is above up there. I'm going to go and check the chat now. Big welcome to everyone who's joined us. We'll continue these conversations inside the membership. This is what we do. We hang out, we chat, we bring members in to talk about what works for them. We work on specific topics. It's not always about selling and making money. We'll have a drop-in session once a month on the business side and professional side, but we have dropping creative flow sessions that we're starting this year. A lot more conversation about you navigating your creativity and finding your voice and your purpose and understanding your art and how it influences everything that you do and how everything you do influences your art, and helping you understand that as a creative, I think, is so important. So there'll be a lot of conversation going on inside the membership about that as well. Okay, I might answer some questions if I have time. I'm just going to go through the chat. Let me know, why does it matter to you to earn the money goal that you've set? I would say it's the most important part of this, why it matters, and then following those next steps. But don't skip that step. That one's really, really important. Okay, let me. Oh, Siobhan says it's lovely to be back. It feels like coming home again after time away. Renee Milan, fantastic. Um, let's see. Uh, Lisa says, is there any forgery class in the hub? No, no, unfortunately there isn't. Only like forgery of the mind though, because just to speak on this for a minute, a lot of it is to do with your belief around the potential to earn that money too. And a lot of this is forgery in terms of tricking your brain into believing this is possible. And I have to do this all the time. I have to work on my mindset. That scary goal. It's been sat there for a long time because I just don't feel like it's possible, and I don't even know if I want it, because I don't understand, why would I want that amount of money? And am I doing it just because of the ego? And for a long time, I thought it was just my ego, and I thought, well, I don't want to just aim for that money just to appease my ego. And then I realized the other day, no, there is so much more. We can flippantly say, yeah, I'd like £1 million, but do you really? And so actually setting that goal made me question, do I really want that? Is that greed? Is it my ego? And then I realized, when I worked out what it would go to, like, literally pretend that someone's going to give you that money. And then you start to figure it out. You're like, yeah, yeah, that would be actually really incredible. It's like, but it's not going to, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. This is what I'm always telling myself. If it doesn't happen and I don't hit the money goal, it's fine. Um, It's this dance between kind of getting focused on it, and then it's the win-win. And if it doesn't, then I keep going, I re-navigate, I'll fine tune, and I can do this. Um, and a lot of the time too, it's about um, knowing that it's the long game. So a lot of my financial goals, I thought when I first set them, oh my gosh, I can hit this in a year. And I crunched the numbers and I thought, yeah, I can do this. I can do this in a year. And I didn't. But I did it in year 3. And I always look back now and I think, yeah, it doesn't matter that it took 3 years to get to, because I learned how to do it. I learned how to get there, and I didn't give up because it was what mattered to me. And now I'm surpassing that goal. Now I'm going towards goals that are so much bigger yeah. So it's the long game sometimes too. There's so much out there saying, oh, look at this person and they made this amount of money in 6 months, and it can happen. It absolutely can happen. If you've got the right mindset, the right offer, and the right people, boom, and it all sits and it works. Absolutely, it can happen really quickly. But for some, it's a fine tuning process. This is for the majority, I would say. In fact, there's a fine tuning between your mindset and what's going on. Are you blocking this? You know, do you understand what it is that you have? Do you understand who your people are? Um, and it's fine tuning those parts. And then momentum builds, and then you sell this first few and it's amazing. And then the year after it increases, and then you find something else you can sell, and then your prices go up by 3 times the amount. And that's what happened to my friend Sharon. She's such an amazing example of this, how you can go from 0 to, tens and tens and thousands from art sales alone. It didn't add up at the beginning. What Sharon was selling for did not add up. To get to even 20,000 a year was a bit like, "Phew, this is gonna be hard work." But did it and got out there, learnt the steps, and is now, you know, nearly at 6 figures. Um, so, okay, let me Melanie says, "I'm going through the pricing right now in the hub." Um, let me see. Yes, Darren, I saw Darren, you're back with us. Obviously, you did the 7 Keys course, so it's so good to see you. Um what does the pineapple mean? Apologies. Yeah. So when I talk about the pineapple, it was a bit of fun that we had 2 or 3 years ago during this event. And the premise is that when you focus on something, you'll see more of it because your RAS is tuned in. And we used to focus on a red car, and then we got bored of red cars. So one day I went to the supermarket and I was going to buy a melon to illustrate the point, and there weren't melons, so I got a pineapple. Bought the pineapple sat on the desk, and we all focused on the pineapple, and we started to see pineapples everywhere on bags. I was getting received messages from the pineapple being in this place, and still now I get messages going, "I've just seen these pineapples, thought of you." And so the idea is, if your pineapple equates to what it is that you want, the money goal, for example. And so if you focus on the pineapple every day, you'll see pineapples everywhere. And you focus on the money goal every day, you'll start to see opportunities everywhere. Um, I say that tentatively about focus on the money goal every day because, and that's up to you. You don't have to focus on a money goal every day to achieve it. I just want to say that because sometimes it gets a bit much focusing on a pineapple every single day or focusing on your money goal every day. It can start to feel like you're the child in the back of the car saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And sometimes we have got to give it some space. So I keep it on my radar. So I just want to talk about what I mean by this. I do have my money goal written down by the side of my bed, and I do read it every day because I'm bringing myself back to this is where I'm going. And I've got on the money goal why it matters to me too, and it's by my bedside. Um, and I think there's a difference between kind of like acknowledging it and seeing it there, and hungrily, desperately trying to achieve it. And so the approach with the energy towards this is important. That's what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way. Um, and the other thing as well, there's another artist called Lincoln Townley who, again, whether you want to focus on money or not, it you can focus on it and then let things happen and get the work out there. And I do believe that it will come in some form, and then some people literally focus on the money. And so Lincoln Townley says, "Every artwork I create, I'm thinking about it being sold. I visualize it being sold. As I'm painting it, I'm imagining the person buying it. I imagine the person with it on their wall. I can see it at the exhibition and I see the red dot." Like, he is totally manifesting and visualizing, and he makes millions now from his artwork. And he says that's how he does it. He said, "I literally focus on selling it. It's all I'm thinking about." Now, to some people, that's not a nice way to make art, possibly. You maybe don't want to be in that flow state of thinking about it being sold. You want to be attached to your way and then look at it afterwards. Like, you'll always hear different ways of, you can make it this way, you should think that way. You got to find your own way, design your own life, design your own way of making money, because there is no one way. It has to be what feels right for you. So that was a tangent from the pineapple question. Thank you for that one. um, okay, I'm going to wrap up. We're at the end. Thank you so much. It's been amazing to have so many of you join us for the Design Your Life workshops this year. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining. I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye.